but we do the best we can. Okay, so my name is Liat, and I'm intentionally going to say a few words about myself only at the end, because I think knowing me will ruin the experience that we might be able to have together now. I'm going to issue a travel warning, though, as I start, because we are going to deal with some text, Mikra'i. The name of the session is 2.5 Tribes, and in order to, use the 2.5 Tribes story, we have to go back over 3,000 years. So we will be using text, but we're going to do it in a non-traditional way, and you will have to be patient with the way we do it. And maybe, I think that one of the things that I want to offer you is a different way to use text when you teach. So just to get to understand, like, the people, how many of you are teachers? All of you are teachers. How many of you are Hebrew teachers and biblical teachers? Okay, so just for, what do you guys teach?
Informal education.
Informal education.
Jewish studies.
Jewish studies.
Yeah, Jewish studies. Jewish studies.
Fantastic.
Jewish studies and text studies.
And text studies.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay,
Jewish studies.
so I wanna ask you to do two things. If it wasn't too cold, I would ask you to do what I ask to do of my the people that I usually teach, is to come into my sessions barefoot with no shoes. And there people are taking off their shoes. Don't do that now because it's too cold. I come from summer. This is like, okay, shalom, winter. But we take off our shoes metaphorically. So what I'm asking you to do basically is to leave aside, or to put aside, everything that you think you know about the specific text that we're going to use, everything that you've been taught or you are teaching yourself, which is very hard to do as an educator. Just leave that aside. It doesn't matter, because the only thing that you have to bring in order to do this with me is yourself and your understanding when you are reading what I'm going to present to you. So barefoot, no formal knowledge is needed. Actually, when I do run the sessions, most of my audience, it's like very easy. And we never do text studies, so we know nothing to begin with. So it's migniv legamre. But this is going to be much more challenging. The second thing I'm going to ask you to bring, since I took your shoes, I'm going to give you 2 hats. Okay, one of the hats is going to be a learner hat, lomed, experiential learner hat. And the second one is an educator hat, the one that teaches. So, but I'm going to trust you with knowing when in the session is the right time to put what hat. Okay, we'll see if you get it right. And what we're going to use is we're going to use a story from our past in order to better understand who we are, in order for us to understand present and then manage the future maybe a little bit better. Which, from my perspective, is a very good reason to hold on to the Tanakh. And look at it, again, from my perspective as a secular Israeli, a Jewish educator, secular Israeli, to look at the Tanakh as as the biggest important book that we have to learn about who we are as individuals, but also as a people, and most importantly, where do we go? So I'm going to take us back, and I'm going to take us back to 1272 לפני הספירה, which is in חישוב מהיר about 3,285-6 years ago. And we are going to do a real time travel. And if we really want to understand the situation that we're going to talk about, we have to imagine, life 3,200 and something years ago. And we are going to go back to a specific situation in Jewish history, which I believe was the first real, true junction that we came across, and we made a critical decision whether we are turning right or left. And from that point on, all other decisions were influenced by that decision, as mostly, critical junctions do in our personal lives, but also in our journey as a people. And I'm going to surprise you because I'm going to talk about a situation in history that is not rarely discussed. People do not stay there in the moment. They just, and if you are teachers, then like, you stop at Mount Sinai, right? You do like, Mount Sinai, that's a אירוע מכונן, and it is, of course. And then you come into the Promised Land, Israel, and then there are like events like the Pilug of Mamlechet Yehuda in Israel, and the Galuyot, and so on. But I'm holding on to one moment, which I think was fairly a week or 2 weeks in time. And I'm going to argue that it's worthwhile to stay in that moment for understanding where we are today. It explains 2014 in a very, from my perspective, very good way. So, and I almost gave it away, we're talking about ending the journey in the desert, 40 years of going left, right, deciding where we're going, which is 38 years more than what we've planned on doing, right, to begin with. And we are standing at Arvot Moav, and like a few weeks ago, Moshe and Aaron did a count-off of all Israelis that are standing in that side of the Jordan River, and they are preparing for war. Everybody knows that it's going to be war because it's discussed, and it says that it's not going to. Although we are almost entering the Promised Land, it's not going to be handed out to you people in like a present, a tuf b'tzelofan. That's not going to be the case. There's like 7 nations inside the Promised Land, and you have to take it back. Or just take it. Let's not put like it. Just take it because it's yours to begin with. We call it the Promised Land. It's yours, but you have to take it. And then this happens. I'm going to hand out the specific story that we're going to talk about. And we're going to run, we're going to try, because you're probably going to stop me at some point, but we're going to try to go over quickly just to understand the story and the situation. Okay? So please, all of us, before we start reading, okay, we are Bnei Israel, and we are in Arvot Moav, and we've just finished a journey of 40 years to get to where we are. We have the same leader since the day we left Egypt till today. His name is Moses. At this point, we all know that he's not going to come with us into the Promised Land. Okay? And this is what happens. When we're going to start from with your permission, from you. We're going to give one sentence to each person. At some points, I'm going to stop and make some references. So that's just to make sure that we all understand, because the language is like biblical. It's very hard to sometimes understand, although, and this is me being very critical, translating the Bible to English at many points make it much more easy, because it just spells it out to you. Let's start.
Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great magnitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that, behold, the place was a place for cattle.
Interesting. Okay, this is the writer being very objective, just stating some facts. Gad and Reuben has cattle. The place that they're looking at, where they're standing, is cattle feeding. Echad v'od echad says to you a little bit what's coming next. Go ahead. 2.
The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest and unto the princes of the congregation, saying. Fantastic.
So, can you imagine that happening on like practical, like tachlis? They're coming to them. Where are they coming into what? How does that look like? How can you imagine that, like 3,000 years ago? How does that look like? You don't have a chair? I don't want to see you. Sorry. No?
over there.
של הפסנתר, הנה.
Over there.
וגם של הפסנתר.
It's a touch. Oh, the last one is the...
הכיסא של הפסנתר נייד.
Bit of renovation.
No more people. The next one coming, no. Out. So, let's go back. By the way, we are about 3,300 years ago, okay? And we are trying to be in the moment of that time. And my question is, Gad and Reuven, the people who represent Gad and Reuven, are coming where? If you close your eyes, where are they coming to?
Tent.
To a tent. Is that a small tent? No. Medium-sized tent?
Large.
Let's think about the people. I think it's
quite big.
Why should it be big?
Because it's quite a lot of people.
Quite a lot of people. Who are the people?
They just been in the desert for 38 years.
No, but you think everybody's in the
The
one
Nissim,
tent? No.
the heads of the tribes.
The heads of the tribes, right? Okay, so let's go over the names again. So the Gad and Reuven representative are coming to speak to who? Let's count.
Moshe
Moshe,
ואליעזר.
Elazar HaKohen,
Nesi'eh.
Nesi'eh Ha'edah.
So 14.
Do you people can think about who are the parallel of those figures today? Who are the Moshe, Elazar, and Nesi'eh Ha'edah of today's society?
The Knesset.
Prime Minister, Cabinet, and the Knesset. Okay? Now I'm going to ask you a simple question. Let's say that you guys want to enter the today tent. Okay? May it be like one big office in Jerusalem or in Australia government. And you want to present an issue and you have the Prime Minister, the Knesset members, the Cabinet, all there sitting and waiting. What does it say? Can you arrange that like for tomorrow morning?
No.
No. How much time will you need to arrange that? Forever?
Yes.
If at all, yeah.
Maybe a year. In biblical times, how much will we need to arrange that?
From now to now.
You think we're going to war? We're now handling other things. You think it's going to be from now to now?
Maybe a
few days.
Maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. Now to now, I strongly argue that it's almost impossible because of what, the situation, the background situation is. But I would say a few days to a few weeks. In any case, I would argue that everybody understands, because they are in the tent waiting, they understand that something is going on. Okay? Because they don't come just to Moshe. They don't come to their Nasi of their Edah. They come to the representative of all Edot. Right?
Also, this is not just one of us going to speak to someone in the Knesset. This is the representatives of the tribe. This is one of the members of Knesset going to speak to the cabinet, for example, and the Prime Minister and the President.
How do you decide that they're the representative of the tribes?
Because they're going to speak for the tribes.
But how do you decide that they're the representative? Because the biblical text, it calls them the children of God and Reuven. Now, when I use the specific term, again, take your shoes off. When I use the specific term and say the children of Habonim Dor came to, okay? So they're not the representative, again, from just reading what it says, they're not the representative. But yet again, it makes my argument even much more stronger. Because if it's just the children of Gad and Reuven and everybody is in the tent waiting for them, because it can't be from now. You know what? Even if it is from now to 10 minutes from now, but everybody's are coming, then still people know something is going on. Okay? Let's continue.
It will depend on the urgency of the issue too, wouldn't it? Because if you say how long would it take if it was something really urgent, could be.
But is this urgent?
Or
Let's
food.
see. Let's see.
Just one little thing.
Okay.
In English, it's the children. In Hebrew, the B'nai Gad, the B'nai Israel, the B'nai Ha'edah, it's not children. So the way I see it, it's like Toby. When I hear B'nai Gad, it's not children going to talk. It's the people of God and Reuben, and probably the head of the tribes or representatives of the tribe.
Fantastic. with you, okay? With you on that, that's fine, because if we are barefoot, then every understanding of reading in the circle is kamuvan legitimi. So I'm with you on that. Now let's see, but the biggest part is this something with sense of urgency, or like something serious is going on? Maybe not. 3.
עטרות ודיגון ויעזר ונמרה וחשבון ועלעלה ושובן ונבו וברון.
So this is like basically them going through cities and places that they went to in the last few months. Okay, 4.
The land which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel is the land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle.
Opening, dramatic opening. 5.
And they said, if we have found favour in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession. Bring us not over the Jordan.
So let's go back to the first word in 5.
And they said,
And
if.
they said, okay, let's stick with that. And they said, vayomru, okay, vayomru. And we all know that biblical text is not using any words for nothing, right? If it's there, there's something someone is trying to say to us. Now, assuming that you come into the tent and you have everybody sitting there, right? And you're starting to say an argument. Why should I choose to say again, vayomru? And they said, because they already started, nachon? Aren't they on a roll? Just like, this is what we want to say.
The unity of them, they said it as one.
Okay, maybe this, okay, to make sure that everybody understand that there's a unified voice coming out there in the space. Fantastic, love it.
This is the poenta.
Now we're getting there, okay? If you thought that what we said until now is, no, let us now make sure that you understand that this is the point of why we're here. Fantastic.
Or maybe something they said and said it again because it's very important and they want everybody to get it.
Oh, maybe to emphasize, Chaverim, the important part is, okay.
Maybe because everybody listened to them and no one interrupted them.
Fantastic. Maybe there was a pause there. Maybe they started saying something, they stopped. There was no reaction from no one else. So the author says to us, and then they started again. They continued because there was a pause there. Maybe.
And what they're about to say is controversy. It goes against everything that they've led them for 40 years in the desert, and therefore it has to be stated, vayomru.
Maybe.
Or there was like today, this morning, a lot of stuff, and then you get down to tachlis.
Tachlis.
So here there's, good morning, how are you? All the formalities, and then...
Fantastic. And then we actually see that the last few words are, say that again. Bring us
not over the Jordan.
Okay, bring us
but they can
not.
say this then. Bring us not over the Jordan. It all depends how you want to say it. I'm not sure how it was actually spoken.
Fantastic. What will be one of our indicators to what tone they used, actually? Can we actually know what tone did they use?
Not really.
Not really, not from reading this part?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
What will be one of our indicators?
We'll find out soon.
The reaction, maybe, okay? Maybe the reaction. We'll see. We don't know. Okay. Magniv. And by the way, they're using a very interesting way of presenting. In Hebrew, it's ve'im matzanu chen be'enecha. Not everybody, but some of us have children, right? You know when our kids come to us and say, Ima, nachon shat ohevet oti? Then you know something is going on, right? You either have to take out your wallet or they did something, okay, you become worried. Okay, what's going to happen next? They're using emotions, right? They're like pushing the emotion button. If you like us, then, like this is where you make decisions from as a leader of the Jewish people. If I like you, yes. If I don't like you, no. It's like kind of a, really? Are you guys feeling okay? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, and this is a question I have in mind, looking at Reuven as the eldest, and he is a role model, perhaps, because he is the eldest of the Shvatim. Just something to keep in mind, because what he's about to say, leave me here.
That's fantastic remark. Let's not just remember Reuven, let's also think about who God was, and let's remember names, and we'll come back to that at the end of the story. Because the names and the biography of the names plays a very critical role here.
Well, God is the lucky one.
Okay, it depends which parshanuyot you've read. Okay, let's continue. Okay, where are we? 6.
Moshe said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuven, shall your brethren go to the war, and shall you sit here?
So let's travel in time. Let's be in that tent. Okay? And let's remember that the oldest of the sons are coming in after 40 years in the desert and asking you, Moshe, to not go over the Jordan. By the way, which is also a very nice selection of words, because at the same, they could have said, Tachlis, we do not want to go into the promised land, which is the same, right? Because over the Jordan is the promised land. It's not Akol Kalul Beturkia, right? This is why we left Egypt to begin with, right? This is what you signed up for. And they didn't say that. They said, "Don't, אל תעביר אותנו לירדן." We're just כאילו אף אחד לא שם לב מה קרה פה עכשיו. Can you think about the tone of the answer? What will be your, forget about what you think, what you feel your tone should be?
A little bit more accusatory, I guess. Like,
can I hear you?
Can you hear me? Shall your brethren go to the war, and shall ye sit here?
Like a little bit more.
It's when someone tries to manipulate your emotions like that, and you want to cut the crap. Like, excuse me, that's not what
Give it to me in a tone,
about.
please. Be Moses for a second.
Shall your brethren go to war, and you're going to sit here while everyone else goes to war? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Like in 2014 words, it will be, are you guys kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, what? משהו כזה, פחות או יותר.
Actually, Moshe is replying in the same manner, because if may God manipulate Moshe and say, "Im natzachnu chen b'einecha," to manipulate his feelings, so Moshe does exactly the same. He manipulates their emotions.
Fantastic.
So you're not, you're going to sit here while they're going to fight.
Fantastic, נכון? They went for "Do you like us?" and he went for guilt. נכון? מאוד פולני מצידו. He went for guilt. He was like, are you, this is what you're suggesting? Your brothers? And he uses brothers, right? Achechem. Not the rest of Bnei Israel, the rest of the Jewish people, the rest of the nation. Your brothers. Reminds them, Chaverim, family, they're going to go to war, and you're going to sit here and sit also. Tishav, בסבבה? כאילו תשתה אתה בכיף. Okay, so when I do this with teens, we actually, we do like a marachon, like a skit. We go up, someone plays da 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 da. 95% of the time, Moshe becomes Marokkai עצבני. Okay? ממש, like angry. Are you guys kidding me? מה פתאום? ממש ככה, from their perspective. Okay. 7, still you?
And wherefore will ye turn away the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord hath given them?
So what is he actually saying to them? He's still going with the guilt, by the way.
Yeah, will you actually refuse this gift of the land? But
how do you think you're going to turn their minds away from going? And they've had their
minds? Minds? Does he say minds?
They've had their hearts set on this.
Fantastic, but you got it exactly. He's not saying minds. You're not going to influence their thoughts, the way they see the word. Okay? Hearts, which goes back to you. Exactly.
Has he changed the language by saying them instead of you?
That's right. It changes. Before it was brothers, your brothers, and now they.
So what do you hear?
Part of Israel.
When he says, Like a sentence ago was brothers, now it's them. Them, you, them. There's a separation. What happens to Moshe in between those two sentences in order for him to change the wording?
He made a decision already.
He made a decision.
That they are staying.
And also that if we're going from brethren to all the children of Israel, that the minute, it's going to poison it sort of for everybody, that they'll be influenced if that idea that if some stay behind, maybe it's not such a good plan to go over. And
right, it says to them, it's not all about you. What you think, what you need, what you think you're presenting. Let me share with you, my dear children of Gad and Reuven, that what you're bringing into the table affects everybody. And not everybody's state of mind, heart as well. And we all know that, well, we can argue about what comes first in our lives, like as people. Mind or heart?
I think there's another point here.
Go ahead.
I think as soon as Moshe saw them asking, he went back to what their fathers had done, and he kind of said, "Oh, these children are just like their fathers," and it's a.
Read 8. Read 8.
Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land.
Who are their fathers?
The spies.
The spies. Okay. He brings out a winning argument. He brings out history. For us, it's like
recent history for them.
For them, history 38 years ago, because we know that generation changed, right? Because they kept on going in the desert, not because they weren't close to Israel. The 12 spies tell us specifically that they were mamash krovim, because the spies went into Israel and came back after 40 days and 40 nights. So in 40 days, we can all be in Israel, right? It's very close by. So he takes them back and reminds them that he sent out 12 people, one of each tribe, to Israel. They came back. 10 of them said no. Well, a little bit more dramatically no. And 2 of them, Kalev ben Yefuneh and Yoshua ben Nun, talked about the Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, like how God wanted us to see it. And he reminds them, by the way, moving forward, he reminds them exactly the 2 names of the people who said the truth from his perspective about the promised land, reminds them what happened to the rest of the people. By the way, what happened to the families of the 10 spies that came back and said, don't go there? If anybody remembers the biblical story.
The spies themselves died, right?
Immediately on the spot, right? Immediately on the spot, and some Parshaniyot talks about, even their whole family, like immediate family.
The entire generation actually, but now I'm barefoot, always my shoes.
No, barefoot, always barefoot.
So I cannot
Always
say what I'm
barefoot.
saying.
Okay? Always barefoot. So he reminds them, we're relying on Moshe. We're relying on the fact that Moshe reminds them, and by the way, it goes on 8, 9, and 10, reminds them exactly the stories with names, with everything, with even almost dates.
Yep.
The exactly thing happened, and we all remember how God was angry, and we all remember the price that we've paid. Not just the 10, spies that were killed and their families that paid an immediate price. All of us suffered, and we were banned to walk the desert 38 more years, not as according to the plan, and we have all suffered. What are you guys trying to do? And then he said something, 15. Read 15. I think I'll read you.
Yeah, 50.
Right?
For if you turn away from after him, he will yet again leave them in the wilderness, and so you will destroy all these people.
Destroy all these people. Veshichatem in Hebrew. Veshichatem lechol ha'am hazeh. So Moshe predicts that if this thing is actually going to happen, that's the end of the people. Okay, because it's the second time that it's happening. We already paid the price and we've learned nothing. Okay? So I think now we can base some of those facts and words with Moshe using like a very specific tone of being like angry and maybe disappointed, right? And maybe like even confused and overwhelmed with what's going on.
On the other hand, he can use a tone of tachanun as well, saying, "Nu lo lamadtem shum davar, chaverim. Ba'u nilmad mashu ma'avam."
Fantastic.
He can use that tone of voice as well.
Fantastic, sure. And what is his goal though? Is it a different goal with being like angry and throwing chairs?
Well, it is different because when you talk the nachat, even though the words are as sharp as spikes, but when you talk the nachat and you're not in anger, it is received differently. Yesh ozen kashuva.
You've got to know who your audience is.
Yeah.
You've got to understand who you're speaking to. Sometimes they need to stick and sometimes they need to carry.
So who is he speaking to at that moment?
He's speaking to the two tribes.
I think to Kol Haida, to Kol
To
Hanesim.
everyone. To everyone who wants to
We need to learn from our history.
Okay, remember that. He's not giving, as often leaders do, as often teachers do in the classroom. When one kid is raising his hand, you answer not to the kid, you give answer to the whole classroom. Right? So remember that as well.
Just a second. Why are you under the impression that he's speaking in a not nice tone?
I'm not. I was asking.
Because his words are strong, but that doesn't mean that the tone is. Someone can speak in a very nachat ruach.
Yeah, this is what's your
Exactly
name?
what I was
That's what you were saying. I'm sorry.
And I was
Exactly what I'm
accepting. I was like,
saying.
for
That his
sure.
words are strong.
Yeah.
He's
For
not
sure.
necessarily.
Sharp as nice.
I wasn't there.
But
I
his
wasn't
tone
there.
is
Yeah.
So I'm also barefoot. Whatever
I'm still
comes in
barefoot.
is relevant. Whatever comes in the circle is bevadai relevant.
Yeah.
So this is why I ask, is the same, what is the goal though?
Yeah.
Okay? Because I'm willing to debate like the tones. We can go on until tomorrow.
Well, also his objective, it's very public, all of this, so he wants to admonish, but also, I guess, help them keep their dignity, so that they can participate and fight and hold their heads high. Like if it's too strong, then they'll just look really bad, even worse.
And if it's too strong, either they will just stay and leave and not fight and will help tear apart the people of Israel, or they'll stay and not really do their part.
Yeah, and that's why I'm talking about the audience. Like if you're understanding what makes these people tick. I mean, Moshe as a prophet is dealing constantly with like admonishing and kind of guiding and threatening and like defending, and this you're right, this is important.
I agree. Let's see if the first word of the next sentence helps us understand maybe the tone. Okay? Can you read? Tetzain? Yeah, Tetzain. 16.
Yeah. And they came near unto him and said, "We will build sheepfolds here for our cattle and cities for our little ones."
Can you come near unto me?
And I...
It says here, and they came near unto him. Can you
Becoming intimate.
come near unto me?
approach.
Approach? Yeah?
Yeah.
This is what they're doing? So basically, the text says to us, maybe it says something else, by the way, because Vaikshu can be something else. But let's be barefoot for a second. It says that what they're doing is this.
They physically approached him.
Maybe. Let's say that they did.
Maybe they fought him. Like shook him, they stood up on him.
They metaphorically came near unto him and came, tried to bridge the gap between them.
Just like technically.
Metaphorically.
Maybe they started agreeing with
Yeah,
maybe
to
what
agree.
Moshe is saying, so they came nearer to his argument.
Oh, maybe they didn't move, like physically. Maybe they came close in terms of content.
Willing to compromise.
So you were saying this, we were saying this. Let's see how can we talk about the same thing. Okay. But in any case, in any of those interpretations, their Vaikshu says to us that people were like re-evaluating the situation and changing something. We don't know what they changed. They either became more aggressive, they either became more nice. Maybe they approached, like physically, came up and created like a more intimate setting to say, rega, rega. I'm sorry. That was off. Sorry.
But why do you think if they change something, if they come to a court and speak with somebody, like Shu, why think they change something?
Because look at the words before that. Those words in 14 are so he didn't need to be screaming them, because he said, "You're risen up in your father's stead, a brood of sinful men." You couldn't be more offensive, actually.
Yeah, but maybe they came close there and then he tried to convince them that maybe in a nice. I don't think it's the tie. I don't have to change. Maybe try to explain or something in a nice way. You know, don't forget the people that have been in the desert and everything.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay.
I said that the Vaikshu only says to us that they were re-evaluating the situation, okay? And then they did something different. What is different? I don't know. If they were, if they're shouting before, now they're quiet. If they were quiet, they were shouting. If not, not. But something hints that there was a change of approach, setting. Something changed. And now let's see what they're saying. Okay? Yeah, go.
What they're actually suggesting is a pilug ba'am.
Really?
Yes.
Which is? Sorry?
A division and not unity. And
why is that though? They're just asking not to go over the Jordan. I'm using their words. They're not saying let's divide.
Well, it's a bit more than just that. And yes, it's very nice that you will help conquer the land, but you don't want to live with the rest of your people. It's a conscious choice not to cross the Jordan. There is more than that. There is a conscious choice to stay apart from the rest of the children, or Bnei Israel, or the Israelites.
So let me argue against it. Have you seen the Jordan River recently?
Yes.
It's not the Amazonas.
No.
It's like from me to you, and some of it's like bigger parts, right?
Well, you know what?
You
Abraham
can throw
was
your
called
ships from side to side.
Ivri, not for passing the Tinkane stream. He was called the Ivri because he did a mental pass. Fantastic. And that's the mental pass that is required from these people.
So,
and
go ahead.
It goes back to my Reuven being the Ben Bechor. And there are expectations of a Bechor, yet he's not going to fulfill them because he chooses not to mentally cross with the rest of his people.
Can I throw something else in there as well?
Fantastic.
Yes.
Do you ever, like, when people are threatened, and sometimes you can apologise, and sometimes you can puff up and, like, become threatening in return. Sometimes, like, without context, if this is what they're coming and they've called this meeting and they want this and they're not going to stand down, then they come up to Moses and they say, right, you've just had your piece, now I'm going to tell you what we are going to do. Not, all right, so we're going to do this, but maybe it's like, actually, thank you for that. You've just called us, you've just insulted us. These are our conditions, this is what we're going to do.
So read 17.
My turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
we ourselves will be ready, armed to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them unto their place, and our little ones shall dwell in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land.
Mm-hmm. When you read this, do you still think that you're sticking with your? You can, by the way. That's fine.
Like, I think maybe because it says unto their place.
Yeah, and
maybe it's that separation. It's not us, it's them.
They're also there took Moses' language.
Yeah.
Now you talked about them and us. We're going to continue. Yes, it's them and us.
And also,
fantastic.
at the same time, like when when there are layers of leadership, you can't, and everyone's there. As soon as you're undermined, even if it's by the boss, you get undermined, and then the rest of your people are with you. How do then the rest of your people look at you as the leader, as the potential leader? Right? They've come to you and they've told you, you agree that this is what you want. You can't be seen as weak in the eyes of anybody. As like I can imagine, this becomes standoffish. It already is standoffish, maybe.
I
see it a totally different way. I think that, like Moses goes off his brain, and then they say, it's like the light goes on, and they say, hold on, Moses, that's not what you meant. No. Okay? It was like there was a total miscommunication here. That isn't what we came for. He isn't really seeing their request. He's just seeing the perpetuation of the bad apples from the tree kind of thing. Oh, your parents behave that way, and you are the same. And he says, you're risen up in your father's stead, a brood of sinful men. Okay? And then they say, oh, that wasn't our intention. Okay, we'll build sheepfolds here for our cattle in cities, my little ones. And then they go on saying, no, we didn't mean to leave the nation behind. We're coming with you. We'll fulfill our role.
I've been watching too much Game of Thrones.
And maybe this is the Vaikshu. This is exactly the Vaikshu, saying to him, Rega, you misunderstood. We're not just staying here and leaving you to whatever. We are going to come to war with you. This is what 17 says, right? We are going to join you in the war. Not only we are going to join you, we are going to nechaletz chushim. We're going to be first in line. Now we're talking about wars 3,400 years ago. It was mostly Game of Thrones and not Tzuk Eitan of today, right? People were standing and running towards one another, and the first people in the line were like, Shalom, it's either me and you or you, right? And this is what they're saying. We're going to give you the best of our boys and men's. Well, there were no boys there, only over 20, by the way. Oh, 20? And we're going to do this. And we are not going to go back here. We are now at the other part of the Jordan, right? Until every one of Bnei Israel is going to be in their Nachala in the Promised Land. Achshav Magniv? Now, sounds good?
Not really.
Fantastic?
Not really.
Not really.
Good.
That's a fair offer,
I
no?
think something between both of you guys. I think from Sheva to 15, Moshe is really upset. And he tells the entire history of what happened, and look what happened, it's going to re-happen, it's going to be on your shoulders. And then Vaikshu, they're trying to compromise with him. So they have a compromise, that's the way I see it. We're going to go and fight, but we're not going to stay, we're coming back.
You think that was their plan to begin with, or because
No.
the
Moshe made them
reaction?
understand. Yes, because at the beginning they.
But Vaikshu is they made a compromise in my eyes. It means wait, we understand you. We're going to fight because we're part of this people. We're Bnei Israel, we're all of us together. But lo nashuv el batehem, we won't go back to our house. But then lo ninchal itam, we're not going to leave it. We're coming back to the East Bank.
So I don't think that when you said, wait, hold a minute, you didn't understand us correct. I disagree, because I think that these guys have introduced a revolutionary idea. They came and saw this wonderful green pasture and says, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
And they came and said, we don't care about our mission as a nation, our God's promise and all this stuff. We are more practical, to the moment people. What we are interested in this green land for our this, and forget about going back as a nation. And that's what they came to Moshe.
Yeah.
And Moshe was taken back by this idea of how you actually breaking this unity, taking yourself out of the consensus. And when he made them realize what they actually proposed, then they said, you know what, Vaigash. And the word in Hebrew, Vaigash, is also the word for approach, Gisha, right? So then came their approach, and then they said, okay, you know what, we realize what you say, you're correct, okay, but let's have a compromise. We will have what we want here, live here, we'll come and fight with you, and then we'll go back. Like the Chayalim Bodedim today.
Fantastic. I'm being very conscious of time. And I'm going to ask you the key question of this whole thing, okay? And the question is very simple. Very simple, by the way. The simple question you've been ever asked in your lives. You are Moshe. What is your answer?
Go ahead,
Fine.
But I'm not Moshe, I'm thinking of him.
Fine.
Because
From
he
your
was smart.
Fine.
I'd probably say no for fear of the seed that's planted. I mean, if you notice here, it's only 2 tribes, and we're talking about 2.5 tribes. Where's Menashe?
Menashe is not.
Exactly, they're not here, but they'd come. Chetzi Menashe eventually come. So, like, well, as Moshe, I'd be fearful that 2 tribes come. Who else is going to come once I say straight away yes, once I give the okay? And, like, in theory, if he was soft to begin with, then it might be more than just a Chetzi tribe joining.
So no, because of fear of balagan, creating like a balagan, and we are now going into war, want it or not wanting it, that this is what's happening, right? Fear of balagan, fear of losing koach, right? We need everybody for winning this war, and we need everybody also united by heart and by arrow and bows, so we're actually going to win this. Can we think of a more wise of saying no?
Yeah, it's not his decision.
It's not his decision.
Not to say it's God.
God's decision.
God's decision. Because we all know that history, we all read Sefer Bereshit, and God is very much involved in like critical decisions, like are we going to drink now or not?
Yeah.
Right? Are we going to cross or not? Are we going to win or not? So God is very much in the conversation, very actively. Where is God? Here, but we haven't heard.
Yeah, we have.
We're waiting to see, like, when will the...
No, he is. Moshe refers to him. That God was Vaycharaf Hashem B'Israel.
No, but this is Moshe thinking what God will say. God is not actually...
No, we can't see.
There is no malach, there is no saraf, there is no amud anan, no amud ashan, nothing. Just Moshe standing. Okay, which by the way is a wonderful remark, because this is a conversation between people, human beings, which is not most of the conversation when we are in junctions. Most of the conversations that we had before, there was either Amud Hashan or Amud Ha'esh or Malach or Saraf or Voice of God or something. So then this is not the case. Very interesting.
I think it's also, you're also asking the question of a leader to decide on his vision for Israel.
Fantastic!
Sorry,
can you say it again?
I was going to say, you're asking a leader to decide on what his vision for the promised land is.
Who is this leader is? Does he already have a vision? Just from
Moshe.
how we know him, yeah.
Yes.
Should he have the
Yes.
right to have the vision if he's not going to go?
And this leader is
Regardless,
not allowed to get
he's
into
been-
Israel. So is
regard-
he really a leader?
Regardless,
Yes.
he's being,
Oh my God.
regardless,
Yes.
he's
Not
being
allowed
asked to
to.
make a
It's
decision
wonderful.
on the
Oh my
future.
God.
It's wonderful. This is a great point, actually.
Nachon.
Does a leader is only the physical presence of the person? No. He is still our leader, he's not alive. Our parents are still a leader even after they die. Herzl is still our leader even if he is dead already. So leadership is not necessarily just a physical of here and now.
Fantastic, the idea.
This leader was punished like no one else.
That's right. Which
Well,
makes him human.
Don't take us there. Please, don't take us
amazing,
there. Because this is a whole different, we have a session about that. Trust me, very interesting about, punishment and cost and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense and what was the actual punishment. But this is a different... לגמרי, נכון? The whole book that comes afterwards is exactly the vision. So we are talking about a person who sits there and he needs to give an answer, but he also gives it as a person, as a human being. And his whole being is about bringing this people from Egypt into the promised land, although he is not allowed, which makes it even stronger. So I am not allowed, but you're choosing not to? Are you crazy?
Would he rather they come and not be committed, or stay and everyone that does come is committed? Like do you take along the schleppers, even if they'll be in the front row? Are they mercenaries or are they Bnei Israel?
Fantastic. So who is allowed to go into the promised land? And with what heart do you come into the promised land? So we have, I think, almost no time. Let me talk for like 3 minutes to give you some ideas to take from here. Seder? I'm going to share with you that Moshe although if I did a count off and I did the sessions with like hundreds of teens, 98% of them choose to say no. Also because in those days when a leader said no, it actually meant no. Meaning that, they were not going to go, they would just go with the program and shalom toda rabba, okay, and everybody understand that. Otherwise he has a backup plan like no tomorrow. But he says to them, not only it's allowed, but is in his answer, he says, fine, you, the two of you, Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, and the half of tribe of Menashe is going to do exactly what you guys offered. When, by the way, the leader of Menashe, who sits there in the room, is super surprised. Because his people never approached, and they were not a part of it. Now, try to be the people of Menashe for a second, right? Not just the people of Menashe, try to be the half a person of Menashe, because you don't know if you're going out or in, right? Because he's going to divide the tribe. Now comes the really important question, because Moshe could have said no and just prevent this whole junction. There is no junction. We're going straight ahead. Why? Because for 40 years, this is what I was pushing for. This is what I was born for. And this is what God said to me. Like, that was my assignment as a leader. And we've been through so long. Are you guys kidding me? It's like 7 minutes away.
But
now?
40 years he had opposition all the time.
Legamre. It's very clear. So it's very surprising that he says, בסדר. So he intentionally divides the Jewish people. He, Moshe, our greatest leader, intentionally with a good long process of decision. Consciously, that's the word that I'm. Thank you. בעברית זה, את צודקת? Consciously divides the Jewish people. Now comes the big answer. Why? Why would you do that? Moshe, of all people, of all of our leaders, you will consciously divide the Jewish people? Can you start answering that question? Because we have no time. If we had, I wish, then we would go around and ask ourselves, how is that possible? Let me just offer you one of our parshaniyot. Because Parshanim came and go throughout history. They brought their own barefoot. I was looking at the text and I was saying what I'm thinking. What we think is Moshe was an educator, was a leader, right? He was a judge, but he was also a prophet. And I think that in this decision, this specific decision, came from him being a prophet, from him knowing that the division in the Jewish people is bilti nimna, and
unavoidable.
Inevitable. I have בעיה עם המילה הזאת. Okay? He knows at that time that it will happen. It will happen from within, ממלכת יהודה, ממלכת ישראל. It will happen from without, גלות יהויכין, גלות אשור, גלות בבל. It will happen. So, I am the leader. It comes from within. First time that it's happening. I have the ability to manage this inevitable divisions that you guys are going to face throughout years and thousands of years of what then was history, future, now is history, but still is a future for us. It's going to happen. So let me control the first division. Let me integrate, put in the first division elements that will keep you and that will help you survive for years to come. And the thing that he implements is Shevet Menashe. He brings Shevet Menashe into the story. They weren't there to begin with. He divides them in half. Tribes those days were families, like poor families, meaning that if you divide Menashe, then in some cases, you and me are going to go there, but you as my sister are going to go to the other side. Parents are going to be sometimes separated. Grandparents are going to be separated, right?
הקיבוץ המאוחד והקיבוץ הארצי.
בדיוק. Now, if I would have taken all of Shevet Menashe and said to them, okay, you guys are going also, then I would be, facing the same thing. But if I will divide a tribe in half and make them always wanting
to... the continuity.
Right, to bond together. I want to see my grandmother, I want to see my mother, my sister, my brother. Then I'm putting into another thing. Names. I'm going back to you. Menashe. Do you remember the story of Menashe? Who was Menashe?
הבן של יוסף.
Who was Joseph? What happened to Joseph?
בעל החלומות עליו.
בעל החלומות, but what's the story of Joseph's life?
Was sold to
Was
slavery.
taken away from his family, was put in a different country, different culture, different everything, rises and then comes back to his father. Finds his father back, forgives his brother, and come back to the family. So the narrative and the history of Shevet Menashe is the history of Yosef. This is their Avodat Shorashim, right? This is who they are. They are the sons of, the one brother who came back. So we argue that what Moshe did in his decision is planted the first seeds of Jewish people.
So if we take this is beautiful. If we take this, then what we have to say is that he set the rules of how we can live as a split Jewish nation, but when this majority must be in the land of Israel.
Fantastic! Fantastic.
Only this way we can keep unity.
So we still have a journey to go.
We are on the way. I think we are the majority.
Thank you.